Lesson 4, Multiply Integers. Real world link, skydiving. Once a parachute is deployed, a skydiver descends at a rate of about 5 meters per second. Where will the skydiver be in relation to where the parachute deployed after 4 seconds? So number 1, descending is usually represented by a negative integer. So let's underline that. Descending, negative integer. Because when you were descending, that means you were going down. When you are going down, that usually means that you are going in a negative direction. So what integer should you use to represent the position of the skydiver in relation to the parachute's deployment after 1 second? Well, it says that a skydiver descends at a rate of 5 meters per second. So that means I'm going to go down and I'm going to write in -5 because it's -5 meters per 1 second. So number 2, complete the graphics below. What is the skydiver's position after 2, 3, and 4 seconds? Well, if I'm going down by -5 each time, that means that I have gone, after 2 seconds, -10 meters. After 3 seconds, -15. After 4 meters, -20. Because again, I am subtracting by 5 each time. So write a multiplication sentence to represent the skydiver's position after 5 seconds. Well, we have 5 seconds, and we're going to multiply it by -5. And that means that is -25 meters. So we're going to multiply integers with different signs. The product of two integers with different signs is negative. I'm going to highlight that and really emphasize the product of two integers with different signs is negative. That's because a positive times a negative equals a negative. A negative times a positive equals a negative. So I've referred to this before as the sleepwalkers. So if you have a positive times a negative, that's not a good thing. You're sleepwalking, so that is a negative. Or you have a negative times a positive, you're still half awake, half asleep. You're sleepwalking, so that is a negative thing. Here's your little people. So remember that multiplication is the same as repeated addition. So 4 times -3 is the same thing as saying -3 plus -3 plus -3 plus -3, which equals -12. So the commutative property of multiplication states that you can multiply in any order. So 4 times -3 is the same thing as saying -3 times 4. So commutative property of multiplication. That is a lot to write. So I abbreviate that with CPM for commutative property of multiplication. So anytime I say commutative property of multiplication, I'm going to write CPM. I'm not going to say CPM from now on. I'll always say commutative property of multiplication. So for number 1, we're going to find 3 times -5. So 3 times -5. Well, I know that 3 times 5 gives me 15. And a positive times a negative, that's a negative. So my answer is -15. For number 2, -6 times 8. Well, I'm going to start with the 6 times 8, which is 48. And I have a negative times a positive, which is going to give me a negative. So my answer is a -48. Again, if they don't have the same sign, they're going to be negatives. So let's try letter A and B to see if we've got this. So 9 times -2. Well, I'm going to rewrite this myself. 9 times 2 gives me 18. A positive times a negative is a negative. So my answer is -18. If it helps, you could always draw the positive times a negative. Well, that equals a negative. And a negative times a positive equals a negative. Because again, that's when you have your sleepwalkers. All right, letter B, negative 7 times 4. Well, 7 times 4 gives me 28. A negative times a positive is a negative. So my answer is negative 28. So that's when you have integers where you're multiplying with different signs. Now we're going to do where they have the same sign. So the product of two integers with the same sign is positive. I'm going to emphasize that with highlighting. The product of two integers with the same sign is positive. So 2 times 6 equals 12. So this is a positive times a positive. Well, look at this person is awake. They're happy. That's a good thing. Then the second problem has a negative times a negative. And that gives you an answer that's a positive. So a negative times a negative, well, this person's sleeping. That's a good thing. So let's go try the next problem. So the product of two positive integers is positive. You can use a pattern to find the sign of the product of two negative integers. So you start with 2 times negative 3, and that gives you negative 6. 1 times negative 3 equals negative 1. But if you take negative 6 times negative 3, I'm sorry, to get from negative 6 to negative 3, you're adding 3. So the multiplication property of 0, 0 times negative 3 is 0. Then the negative times a negative is a positive. So negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. So each product is 3 more than the previous product. This pattern can also be shown on a number line. So if you do negative 6 and if you do 2 times negative 3, that gives you negative 6. If you add 3, it becomes negative 3. If you add 3 again, it becomes 0, 3, and then 6. So if you extend the pattern, the next two products are negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9, and negative 4 times negative 3, which is 12. So for number 3, if you find negative 11 times negative 9, well, 11 times 9 gives you 99. A negative times negative is a positive, so your answer is just 99. Number 4, you have negative 4 squared. Well, this kind of looks somewhat unfamiliar, but I know that anything squared is just that same thing multiplied by itself. So this is expanded into negative 4 times negative 4. So 4 times 4 gives you 16. A negative times a negative is a positive, so the answer is 16. For number 5, this one's a little bit longer in that it has 3 numbers that we're multiplying instead of just 2. So negative 3 times negative 4 times negative 2. Well, I'm going to break this up, and I'm just going to multiply the first 2 numbers to begin with. Negative 3 times negative 4. I'm going to reorganize that to say negative 3 times negative 4. And I'm putting that in brackets so I know that I'm doing that part first. So 3 times 4 gives me 12. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that leaves me with the 12. So 12 times negative 2. If you notice, I am just bringing down all of my negative 2's. Each time I just bring it down. All right, so 12 times negative 2. Well, 12 times 2 gives me 24. A positive times a negative, well, those are not the same sign, so that means it's a negative. So it's negative 24. So let's try letter C. Negative 12 times negative 4. Negative 12 times negative 4. 12 times 4, that gives me 48. Negative times a negative, that's a positive. They both have the same sign. So letter C is the answer of 48. Letter D, negative 5, that quantity squared. Well, if I expand that out, that becomes negative 5 times negative 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. Negative times a negative, they both have the same sign. That's a positive 25 for letter D. All right, then for letter E, negative 7 times negative 5 times negative 3. Just like I did before, I'm going to multiply -7 and -5. Of course, you could multiply -5 times -3. That's a commutative property of multiplication. Absolutely allowed. I just like to take the two first ones and multiply those. 7 times 5 is 35. Negative times a negative is a positive. They're both the same sign, so that's a positive. So you'll do 35 times -3. 35 times -3. Well, I don't know that one. And I can't use my calculator, so I'm going to show the work to the side. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. So that gives me the answer of -105. And again, a positive times a negative is a negative because the signs are not the same. All right, example 6. A submersible is diving from the surface of the water at a rate of 90 feet per minute. What is the depth of the submersible after 7 minutes? Let's see. Let's go back and reread this. A submersible is diving from the surface of the water at a rate of 90 feet per minute. So that means that if you were to draw a number line, I would draw it vertically because here is sea level. That's where the water starts. Well, then the submarine, so a submersible is like a submarine, is going down 90 feet per minute. So negative 90 feet per minute. So to show that it's going down, we put -90. And then it wants to know the depth after 7 minutes. Well, this is going to be after 1 minute. If we want to know all the way down here to where it's going to have 7 minutes, we're going to change that, or I'm sorry, we're going to solve that by multiplying -90 times 7, because the 7 represents the minutes and it's 90 feet per second that it's going down, and it's -90. So 7 times 90, well, 7 times 9 gives me 63. So 7 times 90 is 630. A positive times a negative gives me the answer that's negative. So negative 630 feet. So the submersible will descend to 630 feet below the surface. So let's try letter F. Financial literacy. Mr. Simone's bank automatically deducts a $4 monthly maintenance fee from his savings account. Write a multiplication expression to represent the maintenance fee for 1 year. Then find the product and explain its meaning. So let's go back and reread this. Mr. Simon's bank automatically deducts a $4 monthly maintenance fee. Okay, so that means that it's going to take out $4 per month. Oops, I meant to write the word month and I was writing the word per. So each month they take out $4. All right, continue with the next sentence. Write in a multiplication expression to represent the maintenance fees for 1 year. Well, I have to think about this. How many months are in a year? Well, that's going to be 12 months. So to get the multiplication expression, I'm going to take the monthly maintenance fee of -$4 and multiply it by the number of months of 12. Or you could have rewritten this as -4 times 12. Again, commutative property of multiplication, you can multiply in whichever order you want. So 12 times -4, well, 12 times 4 is 48. Positive times a negative is a -48. The signs are not the same, so it's a negative. So that gives us the answer of -48. So in 1 year, Mr. Simon is going to have $48 deducted from his account.